Yesterday was a local hamfest. Here's what I got, all for $1, though most of it was off the freebie tables at the end. Let's have a closer look. A circuit board. Most of the ICs have been plucked off, but there's still a few interesting components. Tantalum capacitors, transistors, and a couple of crystals, a little bit smaller than the normal case. There's also a trimmer capacitor that could be handy. What have we got here? I've been told that it's a TV computer receiver. Wouldn't be of much use now that analog TV has been phased out. But when it was going, you could put this into your computer and watch TV on it. Still, there are some interesting components. For instance, the crystal in the middle of the screen is around 28.6 MHz. And here's an oscillator module for 27 MHz. Attached to a keyring, but a couple of batteries and a USB. It may still be usable as a portable power supply for 5-volt operated pieces of gear. This crystal took my eye, particularly given the frequency that's marked on it. 144.08 in the 2 metre band. It's likely to be a submultiple, say 8, 12 or 16 MHz. I couldn't resist this little multimeter. My Quanta is the home brand of Tandy or Radio Shack. There's no range switch, instead you just move the probes to what range you want. There aren't very many of them, only one resistance range and a few voltage ranges. And the maximum current was 150 milliamps. Still, it was useful for a lot of beginners to get their start in electronics. Not many parts on here, but the big bit of board is useful for other projects. It's plain old Vero board. But there is, if you want to build a power supply, a 2N3055 transistor on it. And if you want to make an antenna coupler, this rotary switch could be handy. Another board, again, lots of IC sockets, but no ICs. It's the BNC sockets on the end that made it appeal to me. Another USB power bank. That could be useful, if it still works, to power some of the small whisper transmitters I have to operate portable. Now here's a microphone. Branded Minolta. It looks like it was made for a camera. Let's just on the off chance plug it into this camera and see if it works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Talking through the Minolta microphone. What else is remaining? This Digitech thing. I didn't know what it was originally, but then I saw the words transmitter and got all excited. An on-off switch on the top, what looks like an antenna connection, and just near my thumb, a connection for a microphone. Also notable is the frequency, 151.6 MHz, a step above the cheap FM wireless microphones. There's another switch where you can go between mic and line. And a gain control. We'll do some tests on this a bit later. Here's just an ordinary lead, but the connections on it look like they'd be useful to plug into the FT817's accessory socket. So, couldn't leave that behind. Another small circuit board with a 7812 voltage regulator, good if you're building a small DC power supply, and a potentiometer with a knob. The cost of those can multiply with even quite simple projects, so worth salvaging those. And I just noticed a bridge rectifier there as well. At first glance, this doesn't look very useful. A 2.5mm plug going to 2 probes. But as it happened, the probes fit perfectly into the multimeter, so they'll be useful when testing it later on. And finally we have a bit of home brew. Most noticeable, near my thumb, is the ceramic resonator. The light isn't very good here, but I looked at it earlier on and it's 7.2 MHz. Then there's an IC, a CD74HC04, and a variable capacitor. Looks like the start of a transmitter project that didn't get finished. Now we'll try the wireless microphone. I plugged in some small earphones into the mic socket, and strangely enough, it works. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Prohibition selling for £5. Pre-prohibition, 100% pure. Post-prohibition, 50% opium, 50% molasses, treacle. The profits that can be generated by selling this adulterated product is sufficient to corrupt customs officers.
Or the sponsor of the bill that actually is part of the law. So you've got to read the explanatory notes to the Act.
Just doing a range check of the wireless microphone. With good clarity and good range, up to several hundred metres. What you'd expect with a few milliwatts on VHF.
Seriously worried about some of the artwork he was seeing on Poynton Street popping up in shops.
If there's a hamfest near you, don't hesitate to go along. Otherwise, you'll never know how much you can get for so little. If you want to do more in amateur radio, check out my ebooks. There's a total of 5. Minimum QRP, hand-carried QRP antennas, getting back into amateur radio, 99 things you can do with amateur radio, and the newest book, the International Illustrated Ham Radio Dictionary. Visit my website, VK3YE.com, or search their titles on Amazon.